This is Robert Martellacci, Canadian CoWorker eMagazine. I'm honored to have joined me for a MIndShare Learning Moment, Councillor Pat Saito, Ward 9 in Mississauga. Thank you for joining me today, Councillor Saito, in these challenging times.
Well, it's my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
You know, we started off 2020 on a high note. The economy's doing well.
Yeah.
It's our 30th anniversary this year. We're looking forward to a big trip. And then comes March. And who would have ever anticipated this?
I know, you were celebrating 30th anniversary this year. My husband and I are celebrating 50.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah. And so it's not until July, but we decided to renovate the house instead of taking a trip. And
that's a wise move. Well, I hope you and your family are well in these challenging times.
We are. We're staying in touch with our son and our daughters and our grandkids by Zoom meetings, celebrations. This weekend, we have not only Mother's Day, but we have 3 birthdays in the coming week. Ron's birthday, my daughter's birthday on the same day as his, and my youngest grandson's birthday, plus Mother's Day. So we'll be doing a weekend virtual celebration.
Thank goodness for virtual. And I know you've moved part of the city services virtually, and while the city hall is closed, you've been busier than before, as you were seeing off camera.
Well, we started our council meetings 7 weeks ago now. I think we're into our 8th week.
Kudos. I think you were one of the first to do.
We were. And, we had been leading the way for virtual meetings for our Accessibility Advisory Committee. And because the province had granted us that permission, we went to the province and said, look, we need to meet virtually as a council. And you need to allow us to vote and count for quorum. So I think other municipalities asked for the same thing. And I was very pleased the province moved on that very quickly. So we've been meeting at the Region of Peel with council meetings every 2 weeks, roughly every 2 weeks there. We're not holding any subcommittee meetings. It's a little more difficult to do that with citizen members, but it's been very good. We've been using WebEx for ours, and we're getting a lot of work done. Plus, the mayor's office is hosting during the week. Her staff are organizing virtual meetings that are about 2 to 3 hours long. We had one on Tuesday, and It went for just over 3 hours. So we've met with all of our senior organizations. We've had a session for them. We've met with the sports organizations, with faith groups, and we split that one into 2 2-hour sessions. There were so many. We met with arts and culture, and we've been doing continuous meetings with the business community. So this week, we've had a couple of large sessions, and this week they've split them into 1-hour sessions. I have another one this afternoon. I had one on Tuesday as well, with 5 or 6 of the businesses in the city to see what they're doing, how they're doing, what we can do to help.
Well, the City Economic Development Office has done a great job at providing resources on their website in supporting small business, because small business is the majority of businesses in Mississauga. How is the city doing as a whole when it comes to containment of COVID-19 compared to other?
As you know, very early on, we closed our parks and our playgrounds and signed them as being off because you cannot sanitize equipment. And, we had some parents very upset about that. They said, well, we'll wipe down the playground when we're done. Well, you can't wipe down a playground, every inch of it, with a wet cloth or spray it, from a small bottle. And the virus does last on materials, and they really don't know how long. So it's a new virus. Our medical officers of health are telling us that they're still learning more about it. It's not like they can instantly say, this is how it will operate. This is how it works. They have ideas, they're testing it, but every time they come up with a plan. the virus throws something new at them. So
Right.
so we closed a lot of things down. We left our trails open, and we encourage people to get out and walk. We have just recently, I tried about 6 weeks ago, I asked staff to open a lane on Glen Erin Drive in my ward for walkers and cyclists. And
Nice. Good
it took a
plan.
long time to get it happening. I was very
Right.
impatient. I
Well,
was
to ensure the social distancing, because it does get quite a bit crowded, we've taken
it
full
does.
advantage of the Cullum Trail on the Credit River.
Yeah.
It's been wonderful to take
Yeah.
advantage of as well.
It's hard though, you know, if you're on a small sidewalk, and some of our sidewalks, our trails are wider in the
Right.
park than the sidewalks. So, you know, if you're coming and you're coming up to someone either behind
Mhm.
or facing them, somebody has to walk on the grass area if there is one.
Right.
So that's why we opened the roads, and I walked on it myself with a friend last week when we first opened it, and I felt very safe.
Right.
It was nice. We could walk side by side, but we had 8 feet between us, 8 or
Oh,
9.
that's nice. That's excellent. So let's touch on the business side of the equation. You know,
Yeah.
we're based in Air Mills Town Center shopping mall, and unfortunately, it's closed at the moment. There seems to be, you know, the garden centers are being permitted to reopen.
Mhm.
Is there hope for us in the next month? What's
Well,
your what's your perspective so far? What do
you
you?
know, I hate to second guess the province, and it's up to
Yeah.
them. And I think, quite honestly, they are very smart in setting an order of opening without putting dates on it, because it all depends on how many new cases are happening and how serious they are. And as long as as long as the virus continues to spread and there's no vaccine,
Right.
you know, and there's a risk of people ending up in the hospital, especially if, you know, over 60 actually is now quite a prevalent age. But they're even finding young children are starting to develop the virus.
I
So, you know,
heard
no
that.
one's into it.
No,
And
it's immune.
that's where this mutation of the virus is the concern, because it is changing. So, you know, I think this is a test run, I think, that they're doing with garden centers. Garden centers are really, to me, no different in operation than a grocery store is going to be.
You're right.
Hardware stores, I mean, I really dread to see, quite honestly, Home Depot this weekend. I think it's going to be jam-packed with all you men who've been frustrated
It's up.
with
It's
not being able to get out and grab,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and online, you know, you can do a lot online, but you can't do everything,
That's right.
online orders. So, you know, I really hope that that people, if they do go out to the stores, that they really, you know, I encourage them to wear a mask. It's not going to fully protect you, but
Yeah, it
you don't
helps.
know. Well, you don't know if you have this, if you're carrying it. That's the big concern.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the online. Speaking of online, innovation is necessity is the mother of invention, they
Yeah.
say. And the city's adapted a lot of the services online, the council meetings, and you've been offering webinars for business as well. There's a whole
Yes.
series, and perhaps you can speak to that and the inspiration and inspiring some of our small business people to innovate, because you can't keep things the way they were, otherwise you won't sustain.
No. And when it comes to small business, you know, we had one of our sessions with the BIAs, and most of the city is not covered by a BIA. There are
Right,
5 now. Sorry, I forgot about
right.
Cooksville. So we have 5 BIAs. They only represent about 6% of the small businesses in the city. So we need to take a look at, and I don't have one in Ward 9,
Hmm.
but I have a lot of small business. Most of those businesses are what we would consider in the hospitality range. And that's where it leads into our tourism recovery plan. You know, if we come up with, and our staff are working on it now, we have just appointed the new tourism board. It's not an
Excellent.
advisory board now, it's a decision-making board. And that board, once it starts meeting, will start working on this recovery plan for tourism, which in other words is the hospitality industry, which includes retail, which is a lot of small business, and will include the retails that are in the malls, on the small strip plazas, everywhere. And it also includes restaurants and any other type of business, small business, that supports the hospitality industry. The province of Ontario has promised a lot of grants for the hospitality trade.
Excellent.
So I think there will be opportunities. We have funding for, it's going to be mostly marketing type funding,
Right.
that we can move forward with supporting small businesses, whether it's helping them to market their business online through the Mississauga tourism website, through our social media, whether we provide them with joint marketing, that, we're marketing Mississauga open for business.
Right.
Once we are open for business, there are a lot of things that we can do as a city. We can't give money directly. That's provincial and that's federal.
And federal, which there's been a vast amount of resources made available. And I know your EDO website has all those programs outlined, and I trust people have taken advantage of that.
I think one of the concerns that I'm hearing, and we chatted briefly about this, and I don't know a lot about it, so I am encouraging small businesses that are in a position where their landlord is not granting them deferral of rent. And I because it's a federal program, I don't know a lot about the funding to the landlords. But from what I'm hearing, apparently, I'm saying apparently, so qualifying my comment.
We won't hold you to it.
Don't hold me to it. Yeah. But I had heard this morning that the federal funding was only available if the landlord held a mortgage on the property. So I guess looking at that, it would be if the landlord is going to be having to pay mortgage payments, then they would be eligible for support if they're not getting rent. But if they don't have a mortgage, don't have payments, then they don't get support. So I'm encouraging any small business whose landlord is saying, no, I'm not giving you a deferral, to contact their MP. So in our area, for example, that would be Ikra-Kalad. And in the north part of my ward, it's Gagan-Sikand. And their offices will be able to explain to them exactly what the funding, who's eligible, and give them advice as to whether or not their landlord should be providing them with a deferral.
Excellent advice.
That's really the best thing for them to do. And because, I think it's very confusing when people go to a website, whether it's city, province, federal.
Absolutely.
To understand these measures that have been brought forward. And, it's not something that people deal with every day in their lives. So, if they need advice, they should be contacting their MP.
With that, thank you so much, Councillor Saito. Any final thoughts and advice, wisdom to share with our audience?
Well, one thing I would like to say is that, we are losing a lot of residents in our long-term care facilities, and we have one just around the corner from where your office is, Village of Erin Meadows.
Right.
And I haven't looked at the numbers today, and I hate going in every day to see them, but we were up to 15 deaths at that long-term care facility.
Wow.
And, one is one too many. It has really hit our long-term care. So anything that the businesses in our community can do is show support, to show caring. I had residents go out and tie yellow and blue ribbons around the trees at Erin Meadows a couple of weeks, about a month ago, actually. Yeah. That meant a lot to them. That really meant a lot. I would love to get someone to fund entertainment, to entertainer to go and play outside, to entertain. And
what a great idea. I know a couple of entertainers that I'll reach out to.
Yeah, yeah. And, most of them want to get some pay for it, which makes a lot of sense. So I'm kind of looking right now for some businesses, if they can. I know everyone is strapped, but...
Right. But the notion of paying forward is so important,
It is.
In this climate.
And, our city, as I said, this has brought out the best and the worst in people.
Yeah.
I like to focus on the best that it's brought out in people, and we have a very caring community supporting each other, and I hope that continues.
Well said. Thank you so much again, Councillor Saito. That was Councillor Pat Saito of Ward 9 in the City of Mississauga. My name is Robert Martellacci, the Canadian CoWorker e-magazine, brought to you by the MIndShare Workspace. Be sure to check out www.mindshareworkspace.com to get your latest information. Until next time, stay healthy, stay safe, and keep the learning curve steep.